Hello, and welcome back to Password. We're here with our friend Jackie Boy. I've always liked him. He's a fun fellow. He started to wander off. Jack caught between gesturing at me and trying to get his attention, all the while trying to find the words. Hold that thought, Dave. He went after Dom, though I could see he pulled a knife from somewhere as he rounded the corner and out of sight. And rather than sit down, I figured I'd stand for a bit. The dirt and grime was a different sort than in the cabin, and I wanted to stay as clean as possible. It was silly, and I knew it, but I valued being clean. I valued what it meant to be able to freely take a shower, and right now I just didn't know when I'd be able to again. I could hear them scuffle about. Even armed with a knife, there wasn't panicked yelling, growling, or even a sign either of them were injured. If anything, the sound of amused laughter threw me as it sounded closer to them playing. The air was stale, and I missed my friends. I missed being outside, even in the drafty? Yes, okay. I know what that word is. Drafty. Room in the cabin. Even with the hooks nearby, at least the air was fresh. A few minutes passed, and I heard footsteps again, and craned my neck to see where they were coming from, though the way things echoed made it hard. Or close to impossible, as I didn't realize who was standing behind me until he'd come to a complete stop.
The hell are you doing?
Nothing. He looked me over again, angry, frustrated. It was hard to tell.
Sit down and keep quiet.
When I didn't do as he said, he roughly grabbed me by the head and slammed me into the nearby machine. I was dazed and immediately collapsed onto the ground as he chuckled.
Stay down. If you know what's good for you.
He wandered off in the direction that Jack had gone, chuckling to himself, holding something in his hand. I don't know what it was, some sort of device, but I didn't get much more than that. I could smell blood, and bringing my hand up to where I'd hit my head against the machine, I could feel wetness. It was my blood. I could figure that much out. Not that I was conscious for long enough to do anything about it. The lack of food, water, and good sleep was taking its toll. I just let myself take what excuse to sleep I could. When I woke up, I could feel the air choking me from heat and smoke. But like any other time, I was just along for the ride. My body ached, but I struggled to my feet. I was alive and seemed to be glad about it, but nothing about what was happening made sense. Where were the others? Why was the house on fire? My mind immediately went to Orlando, but I couldn't see him. Had someone else caused the fire? More importantly, why wasn't I moving? Instead, I seemed to start to cry, though the tears were evaporated soon after they left my eyes.
Dave?
I quickly turned, scanning the fire for Orlando's voice.
This way, hurry!
Coughing, I struggled to find where Tyson's voice was coming from, but I couldn't see him either. Dave?
Come on, you can do it!
Roswell and Dean had the same problem. I had no idea where they were.
Leave, Dave.
There you are.
I said leave.
Why was I looking for Thanatos? Why was he so intent on me leaving without him? The house was groaning around us. Pieces of ceiling were falling away.
It's now or never.
I looked down to my legs, injured, burned, but I struggled towards the front door. I built up speed, and as the way out came into view, a searing pain sent me back into the darkness. I didn't know where I was, or if I made it out, just that the burning house was gone. I felt the cold next. I could hear rain, then that too stopped, replaced with the sound of someone snoring softly next to me, and the TV playing in the same room. After that was the sound of someone happily humming and the smell of fresh bread. Then the loud ambience that came with an arcade or maybe a bowling alley. Was I dying? Was this what I was experiencing in my final moments? As I came to, I was still on the ground where I'd laid after Memphis had shoved me. I felt gross, my head was hurting, and the world was spinning.
Reckon the boss, made the right call.
Dom's voice echoed out from somewhere far off, or if it was nearby, I had no way of knowing, not really.
Dom, buddy, pal, friend.
What were they talking about? Why was this so familiar?
You can just say yes.
He's about to say that he's bored.
Look, I don't know. Don't care. I just want to know when we can get some action. I'm so bored.
Could always go say hello to your friend if he's conscious. Sure enough, Dom said it word for word. Soon after was Jack making some kind of creepy, happy sound that made me sick.
Neat trick.
My fur stood on end as I turned my head toward where the voice had come from. It was quiet, but somehow that just made it that much easier.
You've been listening in on us.
His voice was still kept low, and when I didn't answer, he grabbed me by the collar and lifted me off my feet into the air.
I asked you a fucking question.
Yes?
Least you have the common sense not to lie to me.
Just as roughly as he grabbed me, he let me drop and I crumpled to my knees. Where's Oswin? I looked up at him, the first question I dared to pose.
Late.
I went to ask something else, but shut my mouth. He wasn't going to answer, or at the very least, not like me asking. Given he'd let me lay here bleeding for who knows how long, I didn't want to risk getting injured further. Then he left, somewhere deep into the mill, and I felt like crying. Too scared to make a sound, though. I just fell to my side and lay there trembling. Where were my friends? Why hadn't anyone come for me yet? How long had it been?
Hey, Dave. You awake?
I heard him, but didn't react. My mind was elsewhere.
No, you're no fun. You know, I was going to go make a snack. Figured I should check if you were hungry.
The way he asked made it clear that he was teasing, or being sarcastic, or some combination that wouldn't have ended up with me getting food regardless. My stomach betrayed me, the gurgle of hunger loud and clear, even if I hadn't said anything. The only thing I'd had to eat was jerky after all.
Oh, I see. Well, you sit tight then, and I'll be right back.
He wandered off, laughing to himself, and much like everything else it echoed, until he'd gone far enough away that it was just vague noise. And that it was. I didn't see him again for what appeared to be hours. I was starting to get thirsty, hungry, and sleepy, all at once. But from how deep we were, I had no way of telling just how late it had gotten.
This is your fault. Sorry, boss. If that pig beat us here, there'll be hell to pay. Maybe they're still at the house. Well, send Jack on a run later. Scope the place out. Not worried about Benson. About that.
If I had to guess, he was thinking something. Yeah, he was thinking about something through the sinister chuckle that came after meant that it wasn't anything good.
I don't think it'll be a problem. If he gets himself killed, it's his own fault. But boss, he thinks he can mess with me while he's bored. Then he can go make himself useful. Getting late, isn't it? You think I care?
The silence said it all. If Jack died, Memphis didn't care. I would have thought the prospect of him dying would have made me happy, but instead I just felt empty. It wouldn't change anything. I would still be here. I'd still be left with the questions, why they'd left me here overnight. We wouldn't be off the mountain, and it was made worse knowing that I was so close to the exit. My stomach started to growl again, and I just curled up tighter. Someone had to be coming soon. They had to be. If not, what was keeping Tyson or Dean? Why hadn't Orlando said anything to them? Was Roswell okay? Was Sal keeping the group together? Did Haas have a plan on what to do next? Or what to do, I'm sorry. As I lay there, I felt myself start to sleep back into unconsciousness. Silently, I laughed. Silently, I cried, until I passed out again. It wasn't restful sleep. It was just the fact that my body was just that exhausted. I was even self-aware of the grime I was laying in, but I had long given up on being clean. I just didn't have the hope that I could avoid it anymore. Not from how much I could feel my body throb in discomfort. When I next opened my eyes, things were quiet. My throat felt dry, my arms weak, and things were undoubtedly darker than I remember. Hello? Someone moved nearby. I could hear them get up and start to walk towards me. Is someone there? Oh, Happy Bear. It was hard to see, but the bulk and shape was unmistakable. You came? He reached out for me and sat me up, but the moment he opened his mouth was the moment I knew something was wrong.
Drink this.
Huh? I blinked, and it was Dominic. What hope I had clung to in those last few moments shattered.
Come on, drink.
He tipped a plastic bottle back and I drank. Water, thankfully. Or at least it seemed to be.
Can't have you dying on us.
I wanted more, but he pulled the bottle away and put the cap back on it.
What are you doing?
Making sure he doesn't die of thirst.
Does Memphis know about this?
The boss will thank me for not having to figure out what to do with an extra body.
Extra? You've been having fun without me?
Jack, now's not the time. Oh, I think now's the perfect time.
I looked between all three of them, wondering what was going to happen next.
Get him up.
Dom hesitated, but Jack was upon me in a flash, dragging me up just enough so that when Dominic finally took over, it was more to hold me upright. We walked back the way we'd came, up to where we'd come in, and then outside. The cold nipped at my skin, under my fur, but compared to the depths of the mill, the air was clean, and I took in a deep breath, breathing out, hoping it'd clear my head.
So turns out, no one's coming for the kid. Or you, kid.
I paused, looking over to Memphis, worried. Maybe they just got out. Maybe they're fine, and there's a reason they didn't come.
Unfortunately for you, I don't like waiting. Boss, we're going back to the cabin. Oh, we are. Got everything I need back there now, anyway.
Well, come on, Dave. Let's get you locked back up.
I have a better idea, Jack. We're going to let Dave here go. We're going to let him head back to the mansion to see for himself what the holdup is.
You are?
We are?
And then what? Then if he makes it back, he can let the others know we're coming. If he doesn't, well, that just suits me fine.
He took a few steps towards me, and I stumbled backwards, this time managing to stay on my feet.
But I'm not taking any chances this time. It's about time something went my way, and I still want to have fun with it.
What do you mean, boss?
Jack, why don't you give Dave here a little going away present? Make it hurt.
I looked from Memphis to Jack, then to Dom, then a grin on Jack's face.
Hold still, Dave. This will only take a second.
Before I'd even registered what was going on, Jack had stabbed me in the side. The knife went in fast, and immediately I felt both cold and hot, the wind being taken out of me until he'd taken the knife out. Oh no, now you'll bleed to death.
Now run along, Dave. If you're lucky, you might make it back before you bleed out.
My vision started to blur, and my hand went to my side to try and stop the bleeding. I had to get back. I had to seek medical attention. There was no sense in trying to get back into the mill and find a way out that way. At least outside, I had the moonlight to help, or even the river. Inside was darker and more dangerous to go wandering around and blind. As I wandered away in the woods, I could hear Memphis laughing. I could hear Jack cackling to himself alongside, and nothing from Dominic, but that hardly mattered. I just had to get help. Help. Everything looked the same. Everything was the same to me, given it was just tree after tree, step after step in the dark forest. I didn't even know which way was forward. Help? Anyone? Oh, here, that audio looks real quiet, so I will raise that slightly. There was no sense in keeping quiet anymore. I'd left those that were, that we knew were dangerous behind me, and every step I took just had to be closer towards something better. At least I hope so. What time was it? What would my friends say once I got back? What was going to happen? I just had to keep thinking things through, so that I kept moving. I headed towards the sound of water, possibly because it was of thirst. Maybe because it was just a landmark I could use to try and navigate. Though even as the river came into view, the only thing I could register was the pain coursing up my side, and how much blood I had lost. How much more blood could I afford to lose? Breathing had started to become hard, and I wasn't sure if the cold in my chest was from the night air or from my wound. Walking along the bank of the river, heading downstream, I thought back on my life. The vacation was the most recent event, the most recent development in my life that seemed to have shaped me in what I assumed would have been a great way. For every bad that happened, a bunch of good things happened. Immediately, the fact that Tyson found a friend and seemed to slowly become accepted into the group made me happy. I worried for him for so long, but things seemed to finally going well for him. As for Haas, I'm glad that he was still fitting in. For being someone that I'd only known for a year, I knew I was around a good person when I was with him. Then there was Dean in Orlando. As much of a mess I'd been the past year and a half, they'd both done their best to constantly make me smile, Orlando especially, as he's been here for years. Not to say that Dean tried less, he just had a different method. Though all three of us had our troubles, the two of them made it feel normal. I thought back to Roswell and Sal. I felt I could trust both of them, just being wiser or, at the very least, smarter than me. I had faith that they'd do right by me if I ever got in trouble. Though given my current circumstances, I wish that something had just happened to prevent them from coming through with a rescue plan. Or if not a rescue plan, they had a contingency for me not being saved. Shaken from thoughts, I remembered where I was. Water. I just had to follow the water. If I did, I could probably find my way back to the mansion. I've done it once before, after all. I can keep going. I have to keep going. Stopping only to take another deep breath of air, I continued on. A feeble whine escaped my mouth as I struggled to keep moving, half collapsing on a tree for support as I continued on. Okay, I think I'll end the part here, everyone. So I'll see you around.